Damon, talk to me about this. You say that they can have all the tools that they want. It's not that they don't have the tools, it's the wherewithal. Don't you think, though, the society, we play something into that? Because you have children who are wearing $200 tennis shoes, they don't have books, they don't have paper. You have kids who have $500 Chuck E. Cheese parties, but they don't have a computer. What message are we sending? And what message are we sending to balance that message of lust and greed?
You're right. And if we're just having a dialogue about it and we want to talk philosophically about it, that's great. We can talk about society. But you can't expect to change society and then hope to change other people. That's just too far around the loop. Mm-hmm. Accountability starts at home. Right. It starts with you and your immediate home. And regardless of what's happening in society, you have to be able to stand. Society's always been that way. You know, the world, we've always looked at the world. If you're a Christian, you believe that, you know, there's a world that has different influences that's contrary to what life you should live. And so we've never wanted to escape from a society that teaches things that may not be right. We're never going to be able to change all of society. We can make incremental steps, and we should work towards that. I don't want to, say that we shouldn't, but saying it society, in my mind, is a scapegoat. At the end of the day, it comes back to the individual. It comes back to that person's family, to that person's mom, to their close inner circle to say, you know what, regardless of what society is teaching, you're not going to have 6 cell phones, as a 10-year-old. You're not going to be wearing lipstick to school, as a 7, 8, 9-year-old. And you're not going to be driving a car, that you can't afford and you can't put gas in when you're 15, 16 years old. And so it comes down to parenting. It comes down to that small community of people that's around every individual. That's the truth. You're always going to have society or influences that will draw you down the wrong path. But what you have to be able to do is have the people and team and support around you that says, that's wrong, that's not your value system, this is right, and this is how you should live, and it starts at home.
So, good point. Let's transition to values and morals, because if you look out today, and I agree with you on the society piece, anything goes. You have young people engaging in all type of activities, not even just young people, you have everybody engaging in all type of activities. How do we bring the core thought of values and morals back into the homes, back into the schools, back into a level of accountability? How do we do that? Or have you thought about that?
Yeah, I have. I've pastored in the church for 3 years, so I've spent a lot of time, trying to bridge the disconnect with young people. One of the biggest problems I see, and I'll address values in a second, is that young people don't see how the choices they make today impact the opportunities available for them on tomorrow. Right? If you don't study today, you can't get into a good school. You can't get into a good school, you can't get a good job. You can't get a good job, you can't make as much money. You can't make as much money, you can't buy as nice things. But it all starts with the first choices you were making way back here. Whether you decide not to study, or you decide to get a girl pregnant, or you decide to get involved with drugs, whatever those things are. So starting with making good choices leads to habits. Habits lead to a character ultimately lead to your destiny. But again, it all starts right back at the beginning of the choices that you make. And so I want to segue into this values. To me, it all starts back at home in the choices that we make. It starts at home. It extends to your church community. It extends to the schools and the teachers that are around. And I think that parents are the primary quarterback in this process. They have to be in school and know who these teachers are and talking with them and saying, what are the expectations for my child the next 6 weeks, the next 6 months? And following up with them on a week-to-week or month-to-month basis, saying, is my child meeting these expectations? Mm-hmm. How are they behaving in school? So you're creating this accountability, and parental involvement will impact and increase teacher expectation.
But Damon, you're great, and it's such a challenge. I was a PTA president for 2 years. Right. PTA, under my leadership, it grew, but we had 500 students, and we averaged about 40 parents. When we had the talent show, when we had games, there were hundreds of parents there. But something that was talking about the education of their children, it just didn't seem to have that interest. Right. And so you're right on that parenting piece. Somewhere we've also lost the village concept. Right. What do you think about that? Because if you don't have a parent at home, what about the village taking a part of the rearing of the child? Right.
Somebody has to take a mentor role in that child's life, to connect them to resources, to connect them to value systems, to connect them to making good decisions. Otherwise, you're expecting a child to just rear him or herself. It's not going to happen. And so that's where the village concept comes in. Someone has to be able to look out. It's hopefully someone in the immediate family that says his mother is an absent parent, and maybe a sister or a brother or an aunt or an uncle. Somebody can play that role. and be that transition person. But otherwise, if there's not a person that's forcing accountability, a child will not just grow on their own. And that's where the village comes in, where you have other people that are taking responsibility to say, I'm going to help you understand how important education is. That your current disposition does not have to determine your ultimate destination. Because in this country, education is a golden ticket. You can start anywhere and you can become anything you want. People don't move to this country, from other countries. They don't immigrate here because of, our health care or our social security or any of our entitlement programs. They come here for freedom and for opportunity. How many people come here and they take menial jobs, and yet then their kids go on to college, and then they change the whole generation, after that, based upon them coming here working hard, owning, some small shop or working in some service position and making sure they save money to send their kids to college. I've heard that story over and over and over and over again. But it takes that level of accountability. Someone in that community has to do it. It does not have to be a parent.
Right.
That's ideal, but it can be someone else.